Hi gang, welcome to Chapter 10. Now in Chapter 10 we're going to talk about maintaining your operating system. Now we all know what it means to maintain something. Make sure that it is there in the form that it should be when we need it, so it functions without issue. Much like maintaining your car, you would change the oil to make sure that it's well lubricated, make sure there's fresh tires so that when you want to stop, your tires and your brakes will work accordingly. The same thing will happen with our systems, or our operating system, if you will, in that we need to make sure they're ready without any issues or problems. Now, we can run a variety of different tests over time to check to see if there are any errors on our hard drive that need to be repaired. We can ensure that our drivers are working appropriately, or they are the most up-to-date version of the driver. Now, drivers must be certified by the manufacturer of the operating system to make sure that it has been tested and there is no malicious software or malware integrated into that driver. And yes, it is possible that you could download a driver and assume, well, this works great, only to find out that there is software that's been embedded within it that has taken over your computer. Now, some things that we can do. We make sure that we're using the latest and greatest versions of drivers. Over time, drivers change. We may change hardware, and we may need to update them. We will check with the manufacturer of the operating system first, and the manufacturer of the device second. Try to always ensure that you are using an approved driver. Aside from that, we've got functionality, which is a system restore functionality for the operating system. Now, it's not in all operating systems, but Microsoft has been doing it for quite a few years. Now, the restore point needs to create a snapshot, if you will, of what your system looks like at a given point in time. Now, this is done by setting up the restore point process to where we go in and say, yes, I want to create store points over time. And whenever you shut down your computer, it will take a snapshot of what your system looks like at that point in time. Or you could set it to create a snapshot at any given point in time manually. Those snapshots would then be used as waypoints, so that if a problem occurred with your system and you realized it's been corrupted, like I said, potentially somebody put malicious software in something that you had downloaded, and now you want to undo what's taken place. We could do our little wayback machine, if you will, and restore back to a previous point in time. Now, depending on the manufacturer of your system, they could have integrated into the BIOS some hardware diagnostics, and it's become more and more frequent so that we can find out what's going on with the hardware at the lowest level and not have to use third-party applications that have been installed on the operating system. So we would not have to have the operating system running to find out what's going on. We could start the operating system in many cases in a mode that's called safe mode. And safe mode allows us to start a computer by using the most minimal functionalities and requirements to get it up and running. We'll call it like a bare bones minimum up and run. Doesn't have all the functionality, it doesn't have everything it needs, but it has just enough so that you can get this thing started and get into the working operating system to be able to use some of the functionality to diagnose whatever the problem may be and resolve it. Now, sometimes we inappropriately shut down a computer, or it could be a power failure. And the power power loss, if you will, caused the system to shut down. And I've said in the past, if we start something, we need to finish it. If you open something, you need to close it when you're done. And the same thing holds true with the operating system. When we started the operating system, we started a great many services. Now, services are like tasks that are being performed. Now, I could compare it to the restaurant, say McDonald's. When we open McDonald's in the morning, employees show up and they're doing work. They are performing services. I need to tell them, you're done working, go home at the end of the day. I don't want them to remain running services. If the computer shuts down and those services have not been formally terminated, we could have problems with any files that they were using at the time that service was terminated. And it could corrupt the operating system or that data that we would want to have reliable and consistent. So, to avoid that, we want to make sure that we appropriately shut down the system each time. Okay. Let the files be closed, everything put away the way it needs to be put away. And if we do that, we have a higher probability or a stronger likelihood this system will work when we start it back up. Okay. Oftentimes, as there's software that we can use that would repair certain issues that may exist. We've got BCD software that can, it's often used to repair the boot configuration. Now, it's not something that we're going to do lightly. Okay, so we've got things that, and when I was talking about that inappropriate shutdown, we've got things that are called DLLs, or dynamic link libraries. Now, it's a bit of code that's installed on your computer that different applications have the ability to use. Now, these DLLs can be modified, and all too often, one application may come in and modify it, and what gets modified is something that was relied upon by another application. So it's a shared file that many applications may need, and from time to time these DLLs will become corrupt, and it's tough to know which ones are corrupt, how it was corrupted, and what do we need to do to fix it? Well, it's a matter of fixing the DLL, and all too often we'll have software and application can go in and repair that for us, and the troubleshooting to find out what's taking place. The easiest way is, let's go back in our Wayback Machine and go to a restore point before that DLL was compromised or corrupted. Okay? So we'll see you in the next chapter, Chapter 11.